everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Hallmark Heartbeats, a podcast all about Hallmark movies. I am your host, Camille. This week, it was listener's choice. I polled our supporters on Instagram and Facebook. The results of the poll was close, but the movie was chosen. I am reviewing the 2019 Hallmark Hall of Fame presentation titled Love Takes Flight, starring Nikki DeLoach and Jeff Hefner. The official synopsis is Lizzie Bowman, played by Nikki DeLoach, a workaholic hospital director and single mother, is forced to re-examine her rigid lifestyle when a freewheeling EMS pilot, Charlie, played by Jeff Hefner, enters her life. Based on a true story, Dr. Lizzie Bowman is a former OBGYN who is now a hospital director and CEO of St. Carmen's Hospital and a single mother to 5-year-old Quinn. Quinn is an outgoing, confident child who also has diabetes. While at the grocery store, Quinn befriended a widow named Walter, and they chat in the cereal aisle. Lizzie no longer sees patients, but her sister is pregnant and suffers from anxiety right before giving birth. Charlie tries to comfort her sister, but has refused to take her on as a patient. We later find out that the reason being Lizzie refuses to take on family members or friends as patients is due to the fact that it's difficult for her to be objective. She even refuses to give any medical advice in a joking manner to Walter. Charlie Allen is a talented pilot. He owns a duck plane, a plane that can land on water. He is also a military veteran who did 2 tours overseas, a little arrogant and much aware of his skills. He comes to the hospital to be interviewed for EMS pilot, and at first makes a bad impression on Lizzie. When Lizzie gave him a second chance at making a first impression, we find out that he is a vagabond. He travels across the country taking multiple flying jobs short term. He's a rolling stone. All of his previous employers sing his praises, and Lizzie chooses to hire him for a 2-week probation. What you do today makes a difference for tomorrow. Again, something that both parties agreed on, since he likes part-time and has no plans staying permanently in Charlotte. Dr. Stadler is a surgeon that has invented a new protocol for kidney transplant patients. Lizzie is wooing her to choose St. Carmen's Hospital for her transplant because of the publicity and great money it would bring. Lizzie wants really badly to open a new wing for the hospital for families and patients who live too far and want to stay closer to their family members. Walter runs into Lizzie and Quinn again at the coffee shop. It was his first time going to the shop. He wanted to see what it was like to read a newspaper with people around, be more sociable. He also invited Quinn and Lizzie over to his house for a tea party. While at his house, Quinn sees the piano and excitedly runs to play the piano. We find out that the piano hadn't been played in a while. Quinn tells Walter about her recital and how she'll be playing Heart and Soul with her grandmother as a duet. She asks Walter if he knows the song, which he does, but is hesitant to play. At that moment, a duck plane flies in, and we find out Walter is Charlie's father. When Lizzie and Quinn left, the tension between Charlie and Walter is more obvious. Walter has shut his son down emotionally. He doesn't open up to Charlie, which leaves the latter feeling abandoned. Later, Charlie catches his dad sitting at a piano with a music sheet in front of him. You can tell he was surprised to see his dad there. Charlie asks his dad, "Why are you more open to strangers? Willing to talk to them and not me, not your son?" I think the answer is simple and also in the question. As parents, you're supposed to be strong for your child, not show weakness, bear their pain, not have them bear yours. Walter probably thought his grief was too great and can't imagine giving that burden to his child. The following day, Charlie catches up with Lizzie, apologizing for being short with her and Quinn, hoping to encourage the friendship between Quinn and his dad. At first, Lizzie was apprehensive about this, but when Charlie explains to her the positive influences he's seen on his father, Lizzie is more open to encouraging this friendship. Charlie tells Lizzie Walter used to play every day for his mom, but last year, when his mom died, he's never touched the piano again. That is until Quinn helped him and enjoyed the tea party. Lizzie also told Charlie about Quinn's book, Mission: Find a Friend. She interpreted that as Quinn wanting to find a friend for herself. Step in Walter. Walter, Quinn, Lizzie, and Charlie start hanging out more. We find Walter doing things he hadn't done since his wife died, playing croquet, playing dominoes. With the encouragement from Charlie, Walter starts taking steps to get his wife's affairs in order, like taking care of his car registration. He also takes the time to help Quinn with learning sheet music to help prepare for her recital. The only thing him and Charlie haven't done yet is spread her ashes as she wished. As Quinn helps Walter heal, Charlie and Lizzie help each other heal as well. Despite a rocky start, Charlie has become a valuable employee at the hospital. He was integral in Dr. Stadler's choosing St. Carmen. So was Lizzie. She sold herself to Dr. Stadler, promising not one thermostat would be a degree off for her patients. Leadership was something that drew Dr. Stadler to St. Carmen's. Lizzie has a paralyzing fear of heights, something made obvious during Charlie's first interview, when Charlie wanted to conduct an interview on the helipad. Charlie invites her on a chopper ride, which Lizzie was apprehensive about. What if we get an emergency call? What if Dr. Stadler needs them? After getting clearance, Charlie takes her on a helicopter ride and takes her to a special place that his dad used to take his mom. Lizzie opened up as to why she was the way she is when it comes to hospital duties and separating her personal and professional lives. Lizzie has strict personal and professional boundaries because she missed her daughter's diagnosis with diabetes. When Quinn first got sick, Lizzie was confident it was just the flu and she'd take care of it. To this day, she wonders if Quinn was any other patient, would she have missed this diagnosis? Would Quinn have gotten sick? Quinn shares his own burden of guilt. Charlie shares his own burden of guilt. His mom died while he was deployed. He missed a chance to say goodbye. When they go back to the hospital, they walk past the nursery and visit the newborns. Lizzie opens up with Charlie why she is no longer seeing as many patients and is taking the administrative role. When Lizzie was married to Quinn's dad, Luke, she was on call all the time, working many hours of the week. After divorce, Lizzie asked to take the administrative role, a way for her to do the job she loves, but in a more controlled schedule. She knew that with diabetes and the divorce, Quinn has already gone through a lot in 5 years, more than many people. Lizzie wanted Quinn to not have more to bear. Charlie informs Lizzie of his friend in Alaska, looking for bush pilots. It's a job position he was offered to deliver supplies to several isolated towns. It brings up feelings for Lizzie. Gets to the point where she asks her mom, "Why did you not remarry after Dad?" Her mom asks Lizzie, "What made you ask?" Luke. He's always moving, barely staying in one place, never settled. Quinn needs someone to stay for her. She sees that same fear of staying put with Charlie. Charlie is always on the move, always finding the next adventure. Is Lizzie willing to let Quinn get close to someone like that? Is she willing to get close to another nomad? Her mom gives her great advice. Don't let fear stop you from true happiness. The next day, Lizzie's mom falls off the ladder as she cleans the gutters and breaks her wrist. So close to the recital, she can't play Heart and Soul with Quinn anymore. They instead ask Walter. While Lizzie visits him, he tells her about the first time he met his wife. He was a pianist at a rundown bar where she walks in asking him to play a song. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. She keeps asking him to play that song all the time. At the wedding, the day they brought Charlie home from the hospital. The only time he didn't play when she asked was at her funeral. He never played since. But for Quinn, he will play. Luke also comes over as a surprise for Quinn and Lizzie. He has to leave for Italy, which means he likely won't make the recital, but he promised Quinn he'll try. It leaves Lizzie in an awkward position because she knows Luke won't be able to make it, but telling Quinn he'll try only gets her hopes up, and Lizzie will be left with the cleanup duty. They find a kidney for Dr. Stanley's procedure, 3 hours round trip via helicopter, windy, stormy conditions for the flight, thunderstorms and all. The dangers on landing at the hospital's helipad is much too high. Charlie's landing isn't cleared by Marcus or Lizzie. They told him to land at the hangar, but he stubbornly tries to land on the hospital so that the transplant can go as planned. It's a bumpy and scary looking landing, but he does it. Dr. Stanley's transplant procedure happens. Lizzie is pissed. Soon as Charlie lands, Lizzie accuses him of being selfish, of trying to be the hero. He was thinking about how important the transplant was to Lizzie and the hospital, the fuss it would bring to St. Carmen's. She was worried about his safety, the patient's safety. I mean, imagine if the helicopter had crushed the side of the building. She fires him on the spot. She finally reads Quinn's book, Mission, Find a Friend. Lizzie realizes that it wasn't about Quinn trying to find a friend for herself, but to find Lizzie a friend. He was supposed to be her Mother's Day gift. Charlie and Walter finally talk about grief. Charlie is mad because Walter never told him how sick his mom was. He was robbed of the opportunity to say goodbye. Walter was mad because Charlie just ran away soon as the funeral was over and never looked back. All Charlie wants is for Walter to meet him in the middle. Walter recognizes that he wasn't there for him, but it hurts too much. Seeing Charlie reminds him she's gone. He lost his wife. Charlie lost his mother. Walter and Quinn play heart and soul for the recital. It's the first time Walter played since his wife's passing. Beautiful. Walter, with the help of Lizzie and Quinn, is healing from his grief. Luke also makes it to the recital. He promises next time he says he'll try, that he will come. Charlie leaves for Alaska the next day. He accepted the position of being a bush pilot. A part of me just wants to yell at the screen, "Girl, tell him stay! Don't let him go." Charlie and Walter are now ready to spread their wife's ashes. Walter promises his wife that he will live long and love her forever. As they spread their ashes at the lake. Right by their house, beautiful healing has begun for both. Lizzie's sister goes into labor. Baby was due 2 days prior. Lizzie delivers her sister's baby. She says she's kept a wall up between her professional and personal life, supposedly to protect herself, but in reality she was afraid. But for her sister, she wanted to do this for them. She misses a call from Charlie while her sister was in labor. She races to Charlie and Walter's home in hopes of catching him before he leaves. Walter catches Charlie's attention, and Lizzie is there too. She always gets butterflies when she thinks about Charlie. It means she cares about him a lot. She doesn't want to separate her life into boxes anymore. I want to live one life with you. And they kiss. I give this movie 4 out of 5 stars. I love the unique storyline of how Walter and Quinn developed a friendship. A young girl befriending a much older gentleman, and the friendship healed his soul and his heart. Sometimes a grieving heart just needs a stranger to help heal and move on. I'm glad that Quinn and Walter showed that. They both healed each other. Love that they touched upon grief, the different stages of it, how each person's grief looks different. Loved watching Walter's transformation from a grieving widow to moving on, happy, joy, playing the piano. A beautiful home. I mean, what the heck was Walter and his wife doing that got them the house? I loved how Charlie helps his dad move forward. The progress in Charlie and Walter's relationship is beautiful to watch. To see the transformation of both characters were awesome. Love that Charlie opened up and found the source of his problems. Love the flying, like stunt scenes where Charlie lands the helicopter on a hospital roof when he took Lizzie on a ride. Breathtaking and scary at the same time. I feel like Charlie and Lizzie's relationship was a slow burn. I like that it was contentious at first, but slowly both got to know each other, get comfortable, push each other's boundaries. It all culminated when he landed the helicopter in a dangerous situation for the transplant surgery. He did it for her, so she could get the funding for her hospital. She was angry and fired him because she was scared for his life. Through their relationship, I think was a B storyline, especially in comparison to Quinn and Walter's friendship. It was beautifully woven in. Some misses in this movie is very few. I don't understand the point of Dr. Stadler's story. Like, it was unnecessary. Lizzie could have hired Charlie to be a helicopter pilot for the hospital without the unnecessary life-saving kidney transplant surgery. I wish they highlighted Quinn's diabetes more. And also, I feel like it was too many circumstances. Too many unnecessary storylines. Like Felicia and the boyfriend, sister's pregnancy. I feel all of this took time away from highlighting Dr. Stadler's patient, if that was necessary, Quinn and Walter. In conclusion, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, Tune-in+Alexa, Pandora, and iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Follow us on all social media platforms, our Instagram page, Hallmark Heartbeats, Facebook page, Hallmark Heartbeats Podcast, and Twitter, Hallmark Heartbeat1. Buy us a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/HmarkHeartbeats. We have 2 levels of membership. For $1 a month, Americano level, you get to have a voice on the podcast. You get to choose which movie I review for weeks Hallmark doesn't have a brand new movie. Like this week. For $5 a month, Caramel Macchiato level, we get access to never released podcasts. For example, the month of May I reviewed Birthday Wish, starring Jessy, Schram, and McFarlane. It also includes raw and unedited footage of our interviews with the actors. All links on our link tree, which is in our bio. The next podcast, May 31st, is another listener's choice. Because the poll for this week was close, I chose to review the second place movie, Nature Takes Flight, starring Emily Oliver and Christopher Russell. In June, Summer Nights starts on Hallmark Channel. We have 4 brand new movies. June 7th is the You Had Me at Aloha recap with guest co-host Callie from blog Hallmark's The Spot. June 14th, The Baker's Son recap. June 21st, Her Pen Pal recap. June 28th, Sand Dollar Cove with guest co-host Brittany Stanley from the Oil with the WB Already podcast. If you are listening and are interested in guest co-hosting any future podcasts, please contact me on Instagram and I will totally get back to you. Pencil you in. Until then, thank you for listening and have a wonderful week, everyone. Stay safe. Mahalo.